Hello everyone, my name is Ellen. Welcome to my channel. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No! We're working with shadows today and granulated watercolor. If you've never tried playing with granulated watercolor, you should. It's so much fun to create all these nooks and crannies of different colors. This is what the magic of watercolor is like. You can see I put in some turquoise and a little bit of red with some granulated watercolor. I go over this step by step. I give you the link to the photograph that I used. If you're a Patreon member, you'll get the traceable and the link. The traceable and the photograph that goes with this. But anybody else can just take the photograph and draw out what I did here. And we're just washing in simple granulated colors. This lunar black with Daniel Smith, playing around with that, playing around with my holbein, ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna, which are phenomenal together for granulated watercolor. And then once it's wet, you can play around with adding in just a thick, like I've had the cobalt turquoise light with right here, and even some Daniel Smith permanent red play in here. And this is just how an artist I love, Marc Folly, does his stuff. It's really kind of cool. Just a lot of granulated color in his paintings. He does a lot of very wet washes too. I didn't really do that much wet wash here, but you get the idea. You're just basically taking the silhouette and you're just putting in this granulated color and you're playing around with it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. Yeah. And so if you don't like granulated watercolor, never knew anything about it, this is the tutorial for you. So let's get started. So for supplies, I'm using the Bohong. This is just like the student grade, or you can find this on Amazon. It's a block. I have the reference photo attached. I'll try to put the little thing up here, but and Patreon members get the traceable. If you don't want the traceable, you can just trace it yourself. It's pretty simple. Just print it out. I really thought this would be great exercise in playing with granulated watercolor for the shadow, similar to a technique that Marc Folly uses. Folly, I keep saying Foley, it's Folly. I love his techniques with his granulated colors. I'm using a lunar black from Daniel Smith. I'm going to play with some cobalt turquoise light from holbein. These two great colors mixed together, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, make fantastic granulated colors. I have a new color too, a cerulean blue that I'm playing with. So you think about this, the photograph, the most of it is like this really kind of like burnt sienna color, a little bit of grass here, and the most on all the shadows we're going to play with the granulated color. So I'm just going to use a big flat wash brush and just wash in that light ground area. It can be just burnt sienna, really kind of simple color. As you can see, it's going to wash over this light color. I can add little pink tones to that if I want to. Just to change it up, I'm using some bright rose. It's a little pink kind of color tone. Just a simple wash right over this. And this paper is really great because there's a tooth. If you notice, I'm using it because this is a great exercise. I had paper that I got paint on, and I didn't want to not use the paper, so this is a perfect exercise to play around with it. If you go over this a little bit up here, not a big deal. I'm using just a cheap 2-inch flat wash brush. It's not a special watercolor brush. And you can add some nuance to this, maybe a little more pink. I'm adding some bright rose just on the corner of this. Maybe a little more burnt sienna on some areas, just to make it a little poppy, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. So at this point, we're going to let this situation kind of dry. Up in here is greens. We can kind of put some all up in here, but we don't do too much because I want that green to be light. I'll wipe off my brush, just lighten it up in here. So up top, it was like a little bit green, and it's mostly that color again. It's really deep dark gray. We can just remove some of this paint here and mix up the green. Simple green. I'll use a flat wash brush for that too. Cadmium yellow deep and Prussian blue. You could add a little burnt umber or burnt sienna to that to change the color a little bit, make it not so bright neonish green. So where this kind of ends, it's green here. Grass. It doesn't really go into the bike too much. You can kind of put it up here too. And the rest is all going to be a darker color. So if you get it up in here, it's no big deal. Just going to dry brush it up there. Just filling that in. Again, it's not like perfect. You can add a little bit deeper colors if you want. Mixing up some deeper green. I'm just going to kind of twist my brush so it kind of looks like the grass. Or you wait till it dries and just kind of put some dry brushing in there. Just mixing some of that dark green in there. It's really not the most important part. All right, I'm going to let all this beautifulness dry. And we're going to come back and do our granulated colors for the shadow. All right, that's all dry. I'm taking my 12 Neptune series Princeton brush, and I lifted my paper up, just put it on, rested on something, so it's lifting so on a tilt. And we're gonna mix our granulated color. Now you could do the ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, or you can play with the lunar black. Here's ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, make great granulating color, nice gray. And you can also play with this lovely lunar black. Ooh, I can mix it with any color. This turquoise, it's kind of funky, or burnt sienna, lunar black. So you'll see when it hits the paper, it's a little different kind of color, isn't it? Lunar black and the burnt sienna. Just funky. I'm gonna play with that. You start to hit all your little areas up here on the bike, right? And you can kind of see it's separating. Now, the ultramarine blue and burnt sienna have an even cooler kind of situation. Consistency is more like milk. Just going to kind of go in here. Just going to go all the areas that are basically silhouetted. You see that? I'm going to add more blue and burnt sienna. I'm playing around with both to see which ones I like better for granulation and the bigger area. But see, even on the palette, do you see how cool it is? It's kind of separating the lunar black. So I'm going to play with more of that color. With the burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. I have them all mixed together and see how cool that looks. Oh yeah, it's like a brown, funky color. If you want it more gray, add some more blue. Oops. Now listen, if you mess this up, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to go through and play with filling in this all in with that color, leaving some gaps. Goes right up in here. It's like a sneaker. I mean, there's some areas where you can see kind of the color, but you can just fill it in all as a silhouette. Mine's a little funky. Go down here for the petal. Some little doodads here. And this just all kind of just melded. I have like, you can't distinguish what these kind of little gadgets on the bike are. You just kind of look at them, squint your eye and see how it fits in. Same thing up in here. The little connections to the spikes. I would use a skinnier brush for that, and I'm gonna go back in and fill in this color. It's just gonna look really cool when it dries because number one, the paper has a lot of tooth to it. This brush is not making it super easy. It's kind of, maybe it's a little too loose, this brush. I might have to get a stiffer brush. Going up in here and filling in this part here. We can already see the separation of the colors with that burnt sienna and the lunar black. I'm going to grab some of that turquoise, put some of that in there, just right on the tube, because it looks kind of bluish, turquoisey on the edge here too. Playing around with that. See, there's the turquoise. Gonna loosen this up. So I've got a bunch of different colors happening. It's just a cool look. Filling in the tires and all these little shadows that you see. Just simple shadow shapes. with the granulated watercolor. I'm going to get really kind of funky down in here, mixing in many different colors of these granulated colors. So they could be bluer, browner. Hell, you can even add a little gold from holbein, and it'd be really funky as well. So I'm going to go back and add some blue. It's looking kind of brown. I'm going to add some ultramarine blue. Permanent red would be kind of cool. These are things you should play with when you're doing watercolor and you're starting out, and playing with granulated watercolor, because it's a lot of fun. What happens to the paint when it separates? It's kind of this oil and see the turquoise is just different color right there. You can't see it up close, but you'll see it. It's just a slight turquoise color in there. Gotta fix my palette. It's like dripping on one side. It's not level. So I need to make it kind of level. It's not working there. There we go. So this lunar black is such a granulated color, mixing with these different tones with the turquoise. We get more of a color here with the turquoise. And you'll see it start to separate on the paper. Get more water. More water. It's almost like dripping. Drip, drip, drip. There we go. Just filling that in. See that little space that I made the paint mark on by accident? I just got rid of it with these cool colors. So there's the turquoise. Drip off. Come back and have the burnt sienna up in here. Kind of funky little lines. So we have granulating colors that are different. Some are bluer, some are turquoise. Just filling this in. It goes fairly quickly when you fill it all in. It's pretty cool though, look at that. Now I'm just gonna lift up some of this excess paint on the bottom here. And this is kind of the technique that Marc Folly does that I love so much. But he's a master, he drips this stuff. I'm not quite there yet. So it's not dark as it should be on here. It's kind of lighter. I'm going to go back in with the lunar black and some ultramarine blue and some burnt sienna. All three crazy colors. Look at that. Just going to bleed those in. Can move the paint. See how it's moving, dripping, going down. The burnt sienna. Ultramarine blue. This one's looking a little green here. I'm going to fix that. But you get these like nuances with the color. These granulated colors. So cool. You can kind of see them up close. There's a little blue tinge to them, a little brown tinge to them. You play around with that. This is what you do with the granulated color. I'm going to lift up some of this. Up here, this is more of like you can see it. It's just a lighter blue. So I'll use the turquoise blue and the lunar black granulating color here. Now that looks a little too blue. I might add too much blue. I might add some more of the lunar black for this little shadow that's kind of creeping up in here. Kind of, I don't know what it is. And you got to kind of connect the ones up top too. So if this is this color, you want to connect it. You get all these little spokes and all these little dark areas. You can't kind of really tell anything up in here. Even the grass. So it's pretty dark up here. You could leave some of the grass. Isn't this a fun exercise? I just feel like it is. You're just playing with granulated color if you've never tried it. And just kind of go out here with the shadow. I'm using ultramarine blue and burnt sienna up here. Some more granulating color up here. Super cool, isn't it? So that's what he does. He does a lot of this granulating color And then all of it in some parts is just nuance of just different tones. You might actually just take some of this turquoise really thick and just throw it in some of the granulated color, or red. It's kind of his signature. I'm just fascinated by it. I've seen some videos and he just does it really quickly and fast. He goes straight for the dark colors sometimes. Now I'm going to try and put in some spokes with this. I might have to use a liner brush. If I use that brush, it might not come out. A liner brush is really great for really skinny lines. I lost some of my lines here. I'm just going to wing it with some of the spokes. It's not going to be a problem. Just look at the photograph. If you have to go back over and draw it again, do that. But just putting some of the spokes that I've drawn with my liner brush, it just makes life a lot easier than using a round brush. It's just going to be so hard to get that skinny little line. And the spokes up in here. There's all kinds of little mechanical kind of things happening up in here. I'm just going to kind of use my liner brush to play with that as well. Part of the spoke. And you know, it doesn't have to look perfect. This is a great exercise in playing with granulated watercolor. Of course, you have to have the spoke wheel here. I've kind of lost that. I'll draw it in. And it's not going to be perfect. I'm looking at the spokes. I'm just kind of putting them in. And again, I'm not going to fuss too much if they're not right. You get the idea of it. Right? It looks like a bike to you and me. And see, now you can see that turquoise coming through. And some parts in here. That's the beautiful part of it. Just like the granulated color with added color in it. Lifting some of this up. Like I said, go back and add some turquoise in some areas. If you try the red, I have a permanent red that I bought to try and play with that as well with this some tutorial. Let's see. Let's kind of put some of that color into. It's just fun. You're going to play with some of this. I'll put it up here, maybe on his clothes, which would make more sense than on the bike shadow. All right, I'm just putting some of that red in there. Put up here, playing around with that. The turquoise is more fun though, I think. There's some turquoise you can kind of see in some of the shadows and some of the spokes. Going up here and around here. Again, playing with it in here. The burnt sienna is really good with these colors too. Doesn't that look cool? This is what you can do with granulated color. Now I'm going to put it down here. Actually, no, I'm going to put it over here. So this whole area is like blue, blacks. You can play around with all of that. Burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. Just throw that color in quickly here. It goes on the grass a little bit. I'm going to add some lunar black, I think, to it too as well. And there's a little highlight. So leave a little white next to the wheel. You can kind of connect it over here too. It's up to you. I'm going to put some lunar black in here. And you don't have to follow the photograph to a T. It's just, you know, something to think about. You see now the burnt sienna is kind of separating from it. So you can start to see the brown in there. This is the fun that I love. And I'll finish these little shadow lines. Kind of going in here, going up in here, wiggling. There's a lot of shadows happening. The grass. Isn't that fun? It didn't take much time at all. It has that really kind of cool look. And I might think that there's still more shadows happening up in here. I'm going up in here and looking at the photograph, and you can see kind of wiggly shadows back here, and in the grass in here. Ultimate blue, I'm using ultimate blue and burnt sienna for this. Now it has like a straight line with that grass, a little more, you know, nuance to that. And even here, you see here they have like little lines that kind of bleeding. And I'm gonna make this a little bit darker still. Is that not cool? This kind of stick looks kind of funny. I have to get it. It doesn't look like there's just like this weird stick here, right? So I'll add some more color in here so it makes more sense. So it's drying kind of light. I want to go back in and add some of that ultramarine blue and burnt sienna on top. But see, you can see some of the red. You can see some of the turquoise coming through. It's kind of the signature. Really kind of fun thing to play with. My grass is kind of lacking, so I might just go in and fill it in with a little bit more shadow and depth. Get some deeper color in here of greens. While it's still damp over in here, I'll play with mixing this in, doing some dry brush down here. Right, you kind of lost the grass. And, you know, play with adding some deeper color to it. I'm going to just tap in some darker color. And on the edge here, maybe the burnt sienna. Just do some dry brushing on that. Just later. Don't have to do that. Just kind of playing with this. You know, it's not the perfect grass. It's not supposed to be. It's more an exercise on doing the shadows and all that good stuff. Super cool, right? Lots of fun. Try playing with shadows. If you have any photographs that have shadows in them, do this kind of granulated wash. It's super fun. Lots of fun technique with the granulated wash, with just playing. Let's see how the turquoise shows up now. Now that little section is supposed to be filled in a little bit more. I love it. Lots of fun, guys. That's what it's all about. Learning what granulated paint is, using it. Go back in here in some of the areas. Having fun with it. If you've never tried, you really need a good tooth paper. So paper with good tooth paper. Paper with good tooth. So I added a little deeper, darker. Were they too meat for the shadow? I'm going to take the lunar black and do that again. But see? That just changes it again still a little bit more. But super fun. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts. If you play with granulating paint, if it's something you enjoy or not enjoy, you know, think about playing with it. I'm trying to think, there's like a line here. There's like another one here. Looking at the photograph. There's so many like nuances to this that I missed. But you guys, I'm sure, could pick it up. And you see that some of these are like kind of blurry. You can take some water and kind of mush it at the end to give it that blurry look. It's up to you. I don't mind the straight, like, non-blurry lines. So thank you for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed a little exercise in granulating watercolor and what you can play with it. Shadows are like really cool. Just a simple photograph of shadows. Take some shadows, pictures where you are, like around where you are, and you'd be surprised. And it's just simple objects. It doesn't have to be something phenomenal like windows and stuff like that. It could just be like a soup spoon or something. I don't know. Play around with it. Thank you so much for coming by. And if you like my content, please give it a share, like, and follow. And if you really want to like help support my channel, consider joining my Patreon. You can find the link in the description box. And we have exclusive stuff over there with traceables, all kinds of good stuff, and more extensive tutorials in here on YouTube. So thank you so much. Take care and have a great day.